It's a pleasure, buddy.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dave Attell. Hi, Dave. How are you?
How are you guys? I'm
Thanks.
ready for any situation. I got my mask. I got my coffee. I got my cigarettes. I'm ready to go.
It's nice to have a guest who smokes, because I have not one has smoked yet but you. So thank you.
I thought this was a non-smoking Zoom show.
No, it's smoking. It's smoking. What do you want? What brand do you smoke?
I smoke the American Spirits.
Those are the best ones. You can live the longest on those.
The organic.
That's what I hear. So a little background, this whole idea of talking to actors and comedians and writers about old movies and movies they love actually was inspired by you.
I'll tell you, during this whole pandemic, the quarantine and whatnot, I know, like a lot of people have been, watching and downloading and, Zooming and all that kind of stuff. But I seem to always be drawn to these old movies, that I've already seen like years ago. And I'm like, I want to check it out again, because I guess I don't know what it is, but I guess it's comforting to watch these movies. So
my father would play The Honeymooners every night when he went to bed, because it reminded him of his youth, and he would just go to bed listening to The Honeymooners because he found it comforting. What movies have you been watching during this whole quarantine?
What have I been watching? Well, I just watched, 2 George C. Scott movies.
Which ones?
Patton, of course, which is one of his best, and then Islands in the Stream.
I've never seen it. I got to go back and watch it. What's great about George C. Scott is that you've seen Dr. Strangelove, of course.
Absolutely.
Yes. And how Kubrick made him do one dramatic take and one over-the-top crazy take. And he felt almost betrayed when the movie came out that he chose all the crazy takes, all the big over-the-top takes. And I think he's fucking funny in the movie. When he falls on the ground, he flips over. He goes, "What about the big board?" I like him big.
That's a great movie, Dr. Strangelove, because Peter Sellers, you get to see him play like deep character, and it's really, really funny. And there's definitely some other appearances in there that, really just like an ensemble cast, like that's what it looks like. That's really the beauty of that movie. What kind of movie do you like? Because maybe you and I have crossed genres, if you will. You like comedy. We're talking about Mad World when we were in front of this, and how that's another one where I usually watch that one on the road, like when they have the cable TV, and for some reason it's always 40 minutes in, but I know what's going on. But that's a movie that I find hilarious too, because it is over the top, and it was like all the comedy legends of the time. What's his name? Sid Caesar's in it, and
Milton Berle,
Phil. What's his name? Phil Silvers.
Phil Silvers is fantastic in the movie.
They're great little guys in this movie, and it's like the reverse of the Rat Pack. They're not cool, but it's funny.
I watched it 4 days ago, to tell you the truth, because there's a Facebook page all about It's a Mad World, and I forgot I joined it years ago. And I guess all these old people now have nothing to do because of the quarantine, so they've been posting a lot, so it's been showing up. And I watched it, and I was totally riveted by it, and I forgot that the first take they all shot was when Jimmy Durante, sailing out there, and when they all gather and they talk about what to do, they couldn't get the timing down because you got all these individual stars who lead their own movies, and then they took a break and they came back and did it a second time, and they all found the rhythm of how not to step on each other and how to riveting. I fucking love that movie.
I'm going to say this, and you can, hold me to it, that without Mad World, we probably never would have had the Cannonball Run series, which I think is another version of this, cross-country chase for a treasure or a prize or something like that. Yeah. So they're kind of insane, one birthed the other. Yeah. Here's another movie that I watched. I want to see if you saw it recently. Mel Brooks, who's a legend. High Society. I love Harvey Korman. I feel like he's one of the most underrated comedic actors. And in that whatchamacallit, in that movie, there's so many like great little moments. It's not Young Frankenstein. I mean, that's a classic, but like it is definitely like for the 80s, there's just like little moments in there that I just find so hilarious. Plus Mel Brooks is the lead. And like, you probably like, if you're a comic and, it's like, he wrote on like, Of Shows when he was a kid, and he made all these other movies, Young Frankenstein, and like, what's the other one he made before he was actually in the movie? Other producers, another one of great little moments. And then he probably said like, you know what, I could be the lead of a movie. And he's probably surrounded by people like, yeah, why not? Because at that point he was like, definitely, successful, rich. And like, let's face it, we all have egos, but like he's the lead and he's like this, older Jewish guy. And, the rest of the movie is just basically him setting up these little moments. So
he's great. He was a celebrity because of 2,000-Year-Old Man as well. And when he did, talking about high anxiety, I love the high anxiety when Harvey Korman, he walks in, Howard Morris from your show of shows is Mel Brooks' psychologist. So he puts him under hypnosis. He tells him to fight. So he starts punching the old man, Howard Morris. And Morris is like, oh, you want to fight? I'll give you a fight. So he starts to punch him back, and Harvey Korman comes and goes, hey, bring it up. And he takes off his jacket. He's got a referee shirt on. He's like, come on, guys. We came here for a fight, not a dance. It's like a great little sequence.
There's all those like little corny moments that I still love, like his name is Little Old Man. No, it's Little Oldman. Little Oldman. He keeps saying it over and over and over, and I was like, man, that always gets me every time I hear it.
And they show up, and he's dead in his chair. And they go, oh, my God, Dr. Little Man. He goes, what? What happened? Who's dead? Like, I sleep like that. It scares the hell out of everybody. It's very...
That's like that Borscht Belt, humor. It's so, I don't know. It's over the top, and it's great.
So Gene Wilder always said that he didn't want Mel Brooks in Young Frankenstein because he said, Mel Brooks was like, how come? And he goes, well, and so Mel Brooks said this in an interview. He goes, Gene didn't want me in Young Frankenstein. And the interviewer said, how come? And he goes, well, Gene wanted to be real, and I'm a little bit like, hey, folks. So he described it. And he is. He's very much like, hey, how you doing? But still, when I brush my teeth, I think of Mel Brooks in that movie. He goes in and out, side, side, side. And I think of that every time I brush my teeth.
I think stole that movie of Young Frankenstein because is Madeline Kahn. I think that comedically, she is just like, a gold standard of like, she's talented, she's, vivacious, she lights up the screen, and she can do both the straight and the comedy. And she's also really good as like the sidekick, when they bounce the stuff off of each other. So I love her. Her and Cloris Leachman are like, just like the ultimate. They are really great. And, I guess you could say one thing from Mel Brooks, he knows how to cast the movie. I mean, like everything from, all of his films, like, it's just perfect.
A lot of people don't know how to write women, including myself. But man, he's fantastic at it. He's fantastic at writing women. Madeline Kahn is amazing in high anxiety. Mel Brooks is getting killed on the phone, and he calls Madeline Kahn. And the guy's choking him, and he's like, and Madeline Kahn fixes the dirty collar, and she's like, what are you wearing? He's like, jeans, I bet they're tight. She's really, and she was gorgeous too. She was really sexy,
Right.
I don't know.
And I think, what was I going to say is that, like, I don't watch as many comedy movies as I think people think comics watch. Like, I don't know any of the new movies and any of that kind of stuff. And I really should watch them, I should know what's going on, comedy wise. But it just seems that I guess I'm old or something like that. If I'm going to watch a movie, give that much time, I want it to either be I watch more documentaries than I watch, regular. Too. So I don't know what that says about me, but now I'm getting even older now. So now the documentaries are becoming all about science and stuff like that. So, it's like I'm even more and more distance from people. But when I do watch a movie, I do like when basically, it's whatchamacallit, period piece. I'll watch that or something like that. Or I'm really even having trouble describing what kind of movies I like, now.
Well, I understand. It's I don't watch modern comedies because there's only 5 laughs a movie now. They say to make a script, you got to have 5 laughs. I watched the Marx Brothers. There's 5 laughs on a page, you know?
Right.
And that's
Marx Brothers are really good. Like, you know, when you think about it, it's like, as a comic, you know this because, like, you know, you have done TV and film, but you really are a guy who, like, basically learned about comedy by doing it in a club. So anything with the Marx Brothers, like, everything they've done in their mom's kitchen. Yeah. And they've done it for years and years on the vaudeville circuit. And then they basically brought it. They wrote a movie around these bits, these big bits that they have. And then they, they just really ran through it. And, like, all that timing, because I think with the Marx Brothers, I used to watch it when I was even younger, and I would be like, man, this is amazing timing. Like, just like how they boom, 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 keep going. And then they kind of slow the whole movie down with a song or something like that. Yeah. And Groucho used to say that they used to have to put the songs in so that the couples in the theater, like, you know, they're on a date, like they would have something to, like, make out to or, like, you know, like hug to. Yeah. But, like, the majority of the movie is just crazy silliness. And, like, it's all them, like, you know, the plot is here. And then all the comedy is just, like, basically trying to push the plot over, you know? So yeah. I can always watch a Marx Brothers movie. You know?
I love them. I think that's, see, for me, what really got me into comedy was my father showing me the Marx Brothers and Laurel and Hardy to a certain extent. Do you remember what the movies were to you that got you interested in comedy? It got me interested in doing comedy. Interested in what?
It was definitely not comedy movies. It was more like albums and, like, you know, Richard Pryor and George Carlin and, like, Rhino Records. They used to have all those, like, interstitial things and, like, basically theater of the mind stuff. So that was the stuff that I would listen to growing up. But now that, like, I'm kind of jealous of today's generation of kids because, like, there's so much content out there now. When I was a kid, like, you really, like, didn't see anything. Like Steve Martin, like, I remember, like, man, I wish I could go see him live. But, like, you know, I was too young, and I was also, like, you know, I didn't have that kind of money or anything like that. Like, I didn't have a car. So, like, his albums were really the one thing that, like, you know, you're like, whoa, this is pretty sweet, you know?
Somebody brought up Steve Martin yesterday, the jerk, the can scene with the jerk. You know, it's such a brilliant movie. And I love that he had such a love for old movies that he knew to get Carl Reiner to help write him these movies, like Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, and these.
That's my favorite one of his movies. Is Dead Men Don't. And then I also like the Man with Two Brains. I think that those two movies, even though The Jerk is it's like candy, you know, it's like bad for you, but it's good. Those two movies are the ones where you could tell that, like, you know, he is a real serious guy. That's Steve Martin. He's serious. He's genius. So, like, you could tell that, like, he was throwing everything he wanted about movies into that kind of stuff. And you know, Carl Reiner, I'm glad you brought him up because, you know, I used to watch the shows.
Love it. Love your show.
I knew he was, but the Dick Van Dyke Show, that's where you really get to see him, you know, like you really kind of see the guy is. And you realize he's kind of like a nondescript guy, you know, he's just like a regular guy. Yeah. And then it turns out that he's like, you know, this great comedic mind, you know.
Yeah. And it was a sad loss that Mel Brooks couldn't go to his funeral. You know, his best friend couldn't go to his funeral, you know. Sad.
Right. Well, he owed him money. No. Some grudges just go on to the grave. I always think of you as like a guy who's like, you know, every time I see you, and it's always like a year or like 8 months or something like that, you come back and you always have some kind of tale of like some audition or some sitcom or something like that. I find it fascinating, and I feel for you, but I do find it fascinating because, like, you know, for years and years and years, people always like, you know, you got to get on a sitcom and all that stuff. And I was like, I kind of knew immediately I was not a sitcom guy. I'm not an actor. But, like, you're an actor, so how difficult and hard that is. But, like, when you're on the set, let's say, and, like, it's a comedy thing and stuff like that, do you feel like, you know, you have the chance to, like, really, like, ramp it up, make it funny? Or is it pretty much just do what they tell you to do and kind of go with the, I guess you could say, the, you know, go with the flow, you know, like, hey, they think this is funny, so I'm going to do it, you know?
When I was a regular on things, I had a lot of, I could control, I could add things, I could ad lib and see it and see what they thought. I could pitch a line. As a guest role, I can't do anything.
I know, but, you know, I got to tell you, like, you know, these, you know, people know this now, you know, everybody's hip to how a show is made and all that kind of stuff. these shows, like, you never know what's going to happen to them. You never even know, like, what the network is planning to do with it, really, and it can change from moment to moment. But like, it's cool that at least you get casted in them. That shows that you have some chops and you know what you're doing. I don't have any of that ability, and like every part, like I would go out for, I was always like, this is not really who I am. This is not like, because I really just want to play myself. But like, I'm a cab driver, or I'm a whatchamacallit. I own a porn theater or something like that. I always wanted to just play myself, but they would always send me out for these really weird, like you're a lawyer and it's like you're a bad lawyer or something like. So I'm like, I don't really know how to do that. But like for you, like you're really castable. Like I could see you doing like a million different things.
Not bad. First of all, the amount of times I've read for parts that were written for you, like the Jim Gaffigan show, it's a Dave, and I'm like, this is Dave Attell.
Oh, that would be, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, and then they cast that guy. And that guy's good. I've seen him in other things. But I would have much rather have seen you play the part.
Well, I said to Jim, I'll just do the inside. He goes, yeah, it's based on you. And I go, well, this is like a big deal, Jim. You should get a real actor. It's not like, it'd be fun to be there and hang out and make some money and all that kind of stuff. But like, this is like your thing. You should get like, bring in the professionals, So
that's it. That's it. So that's what happened. Interesting. Yeah. I always
love good to me because I did a lot of guest roles on that show, and it was good to all the comics. Same thing with the whatchamacallit show on HBO.
Well,
Crashing with and I'm telling you, like, the idea of that show is a really good idea. Whether it was the level of like like classic sitcoms, I don't know about that. I feel that it could have grown and gotten deeper and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, like, Artie Lang, who, we all know as, from a million different things, Artie is a really good actor. And I think he really brought a level to that show that was just like, really, really important. And, I think Judd and everybody else definitely saw that. And, it's important to get like a guy who can do the job, but also who can bring like the extra, like, I guess you could say, like, just like, you can't take your eyes off him type of guy.
I always, whenever I go in for a commercial audition, I always think of your joke, where it was an old joke of yours, where you're like, I'm no good at that, these auditions. Like you have a can of Coke and you take a sip of it, and then you show us that you love it. So I think of that all the time. It's I think of it at every audition. It's stupid.
Well, I apologize for that, but I was appropriate in today's times. But let's stick to the old movies here. So if you could be in any of these old movies we've talked about, which one would you want to be in?
If we're talking comedy or we're talking drama?
Well, I would want to be in the Omega Man. I really think that would be a cool one. I could wear like one of those cloaks. I like that. The way the cloak, but there was a lot of heavy makeup they had to wear, so that might have sucked. But
I like the old comedies. I was watching. Were you a Laurel and Hardy fan at all, or was that?
Yeah, I was a Laurel and Hardy, but I like what's his name better. Who's the guy? The guy with the trains. He's always running away from a train.
Buster Keaton.
I sorry I can't get his name, but he's the classic
Buster Keaton.
Buster Keaton. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that guy is like. He's an Olympic genius.
It's amazing.
And all that stuff was real. Like he timed everything had to be timed out or else someone died. So that was like the whole thing of like, I hope you got that one because we can't get the train back there and have me on a bounce, on a seesaw, jumping backflips over. So that was like an amazing thing. He also, the other comics really, really looked up to him. Like, back in the day, like Richard Lewis and stuff like that. They used to go visit him at his house.
Richard Lewis is in the documentary about him. There's a great documentary called The Great Buster. It's on YouTube. And there's this great, Richard Lewis is in it, and Nick Kroll, and Mel Brooks is in it. He's one of them. And I love the fact that when the house came down, which everybody always talks about, how he's in the window, and he's standing and the window goes through him, so he doesn't get killed. But in real life, he would have been killed. But my father always said that right before they shot that scene, Buster found out that he was just let go from the studio, and that he wasn't going to get the rights for the movies. So he just found out basically he was back at square one.
Wow.
So when he shot that scene, he was kind of like, if I die, I die. And that blows my mind, But
That's pretty amazing.
It's sad, but I'm a big Buster Keaton fan.
But Laurel and Hardy, like, I guess the one movie that everyone knows is the Christmas one, the Christmas Story.
Oh, which they hated. They hated that one.
Stan Laurel hated it. That was like a seasonal thing. I was like, the March of the Wooden Soldiers. That's what it was. But I was always like, I wish I had some giant wooden soldiers. I would say.
So I guess to answer your question, probably the Marx Brothers. I loved Harpo Marx and Groucho. I loved the three of them. The fact that Groucho would be the verbal one, Harpo would be the silent one, and Chico would be the idiot. And I was riveted by them. And anytime, to me, it's like they kept, remember Keep Away? You take somebody's hat, you throw it, like Keep Away, and the guy couldn't get his hat, you throw it back and forth to each other. That's what the Marx Brothers did to a movie. They just like kidnapped the movie and just wouldn't return it to the fucking lead actor. And
that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it.
I just love that shit. Anyway, we're almost done. I just wanted to thank you for doing the show. You gave me this idea. And
No, I think it's a great idea. I think what we should do for next time, as you go forward, is like you should have some movie posters, and then we could like talk about them.
That is true.
Like,
that is true.
I mean, no offense, we both have the same decorator. A very sad wall behind us.
I got the Blues Brothers up there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. You see me. I have nothing up on these walls.
Everything's
from living in hotels, all those years that I come home and I'm like, now I don't know what to put in my own house. I have no idea how to do this. I got someone to help me, but now there's something going on. No one's allowed to come in your house. So, but either way, it is a great idea, and you are the guy to do this. And I'm sorry, my movie knowledge, because I know there's going to be like super fans of these movies who are going to be like, well, he should have said this and all that kind of stuff. And I totally agree with everything they say, because we're not doing justice to these movies, that they are way better and more like complex than we can even imagine.
Well, the thing is that my fans are not huge movie buffs, and so they always write to me and go, oh, that's great. I checked this movie out and I loved it, And that's basically what we're doing. When me and you sat in front of the cellar, that we must have talked for 2 hours about John Candy and everybody, and just swapping stories. Like you gave me stories I didn't know. I gave you stories you didn't know. It was fucking fascinating to me, because I've known you for years, but we never connected like that. The first thing you ever said to me.
John Candy is a good example of a guy who deserved more credit than he got. He definitely played a role, but when you see him in Stripes, which is a classic, by the way, that movie is just classic, and they should never redo that movie, because it's just perfect the way it is. It's definitely like one of those movies where Bill Murray, and what's his name?
Harold Ramis.
How their chemistry alone is just classic. But then all those other guys, all the other guys that they brought in, every time they have their moment, it's hilarious. And I love that,
Yeah, it's John Larroquette and the chainsaw,
just the whole John Candy character too, where he's this very sensitive fat man, basically. I love it. I just think it's great.
It's he didn't like the mud wrestling scene. He was nervous. It made him feel uncomfortable. And Bill Murray was like, yeah, you'll just do it and let's get it done. And Bill Murray was there for him throughout the whole shoot, but he was extremely uncomfortable throughout the whole time.
Also, I always think that when you're a comic, you come at it differently, where you also have a take on comedy and also on what people like and don't like and your own experience. So, some directors and producers are good where they work with that, and they go Judd Apatow is basically he's the template of a guy who sees, he takes somebody who's a comic and he helps he works with them so that they, can bring out their best story. And from Amy to Pete Davidson, I mean, you see these stories and they wouldn't have happened without Judd, I think.
No.
He's really good that way of being able to take your bit or your story or whatever you want to talk about and turning it into a movie, and success deserved, all the way through.
Yeah. I kind of wish he would do that with you. And I know that
I don't want to be in any. I actually just doing this was stressful, but
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But
no, dude. I totally believe in you and the idea and the whole idea of doing this, but the whole idea of promoting now and being out there, it's either pure ego or it's just pure boredom, because there are no gigs, like that's the whole thing. Like I want to do gigs, but like any indoor gig, you got to go like, hey, I've been tested. Should the crowd like, whatchamacallit, I want to make sure that they're safe. Is it all that way? The outdoor gigs I'm going to do all these outdoor gigs, but like at the end of the day, it's like, you got to either want to talk or not want to talk. And I guess I'm just more private, but this is something for you that I think that you're passionate about, and you should definitely run with it.
Yeah, I'm going, and you don't got to promote it at all. And
you can walk with it, dude. I know that you're a smoker, so you can walk.
Listen, just to finish up on this, and I know you're not big on compliments, and I love the privacy thing that you do. Like you don't talk about your real life on stage. You're very careful about who you become friends with off stage, and I really, really admire that. And I've been a tremendous fan, and I love your type of comedy where it's like George Carlin. Everyone acts like you got to go up there and rant about your real life. Yeah, there's that kind of comedy, and there's also the George Carlin kind of comedy where you just can be silly. You can just make jokes, and that's what you do. And that's
jokes are an endangered thing right now of people taking them the wrong way, and also people writing bad jokes and people like saying something they said was a joke when it wasn't a joke. But not to get deeply into it, but like I always respected the joke writing comics, and I also since this is about movies, that like you can see in these movies that there's a beginning, middle, and end to every little bit. Like there's a setup, there's the actual funny, and then there's the payoff. And like, as a joke writer, you look at that bit and like, you can see it more in cartoons now than you can see it anywhere else. But you go like, the whole idea of the comedic mechanic of like the mechanics of comedy, that they still hold up, whether they're politically correct or not or whatever, something like that. You need something to put like to frame the funny, and people talk about, the whole time of like, jokes are dead and, whatever, and this kind of thing. It's like, sure, that's fine. Cause you know what, at the end of the day, like I want to learn how to write the best joke, and I want to tell jokes, and I want to like make sure that my stuff is like not like anybody else's. And I check my jokes, this, I check a lot of material. And like I try and like be very respectful of the of what a joke is and how it should go. That doesn't mean that every joke I write is pure genius. It's usually like, basically all I can say about jokes is that like finding a gem is like finding an M&M in a bag of I don't know what to tell you, like a bag of brown. Is that like it's very few and far between that you actually find one that like holds up in every situation, So those are the jokes that I'm always pulling towards. And, what I like about you and other people is that, you're a headliner, so you know how to do it. And like, you're always trying to bring some new stuff to the stage. And you're also like listening to the crowd. So if the crowd is not digging it, you turn, you pivot, you do whatever you have to do. Yeah. And like, that to me is another comedic skill that like will eventually evaporate if we don't have live shows. Because on these Zoom things and on these different, multimedia platforms, there is no real crowd. No. It's a virtual crowd. Yeah. And the people at home, holding their attention is twice as hard. So, talking about old movies, that's totally cool. And like,
that's what I said. I don't want people to call me.
Yeah, this is something totally different than the stand-up. So thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Listen, I wouldn't have it if it wasn't for you. And when you like volunteered to do it, I got nervous and happy at the same time. Dave, just thanks for everything. You've been
next time, if you don't mind, can you make your bed? I mean, honestly, I see it over there.
If you only saw what you really pointed out. But,
this looks like your parents set you up in the attic. You're like, comforter, we got a couple of towels,
It's not good. Listen, be careful on the road out there when you go out. And
dude, I hope to see you in person. You be safe. And once again, sorry about the passing of your dad. I know that happened to me. That is a tough time. And in these times, especially, everybody's going through some kind of loss. And to all the people out there, please be safe. Please come see us both. And, whenever live, whatever we're doing, like come by, because we miss you guys as much as you miss comedy. So,
yeah. Well, thanks, Dave. Thanks for doing this. You take care. Okay.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Okay? See you soon. Bye.